Welcome to New Writer Podcast. Tonight I have a very special guest, Percival Constantine, author of the Vanguard series and the Myth Hunter series of novellas, and he is going to talk to us a little bit tonight about his writing and his journey as a writer. I'm sorry, Percival. It's been a long time since I've done an interview, so
That's okay, no problem.
And I should probably make sure that I'm not playing in the background. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, Percival Constantine, you can call me Perry. I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised, pretty much on a steady diet of comic books and movies, action movies and TV shows and video games. And ever since I was about 10 years old, I wanted to write. Did a lot of writing back since then, basically. And in my teens, I started writing comic book fan fiction. And then around the time I was in college, I started writing my original stuff. And 2007 was when I self-published my first novel. And then since then, I've just pretty much been writing pretty consistently. Although recently I've stepped it up a lot. Up until recently, I've only been doing about one release a year, but this year I decided to do one release a month.
I wish I could be that productive. I have to say, I really love your covers.
Oh, thank you.
I was actually one of does it come up a lot when people see your cover and get confused because they're not like graphic novels?
I haven't really had that come up a lot. Some people have said that might be a problem, but no one's really I think I've only gotten like one review that said that this isn't a graphic novel, this is a prose story. But for the most part, I haven't really gotten any backlash on that.
Since when I saw the covers come up when I was doing my little pre-show research, I was like, oh, graphic novels. And then I opened the first one and I was like, oh, no, they're actually books.
Yeah, I write in like the pulp style. So I kind of wanted to, when I was looking for a cover artist for the Myth Hunter series, I wanted to have kind of like that old pulp paperback feel where they had these illustrated covers on them. And it felt right when I found that artist to do them. And as for the Vanguard covers, it's very much inspired by superhero comic books. And the guy who worked on that is a comic book artist himself, Matt Nastos, who's done a lot of work over the years for like Marvel and Image and a bunch of other companies. So I definitely wanted to have him give me some of that like old school Bronze Age superhero feel.
See, I thought it was more like late 80s, early 90s Japanese comic book covers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I guess really is the same thing, when you look at the history of Japanese comics and the influence that American comics had on them. Same time period.
Yeah. So, we are talking about the same basic era probably. So those comics were probably very much influenced by the Bronze Age stuff from the 70s and 80s American comics.
Yeah. That's why my first thought when I saw that was, wow, because I actually draw a lot from Japanese comic books in my writing.
Oh, okay.
So I was like right there, kind of excited. I haven't had a chance to read any of your stuff yet, but I did get some of it. So
awesome. Thank you.
And the first book is free, or the first episode of the serial is free, right?
The first Myth Hunter novella, which is called The Lost Continent, that's free. The first I've got another series, an action adventure series called Infernum. The first novella in that one is free too. For Vanguard, the first episode is not free yet because it's still in KDP Select, but come August, it'll be out of Select, and I'm going to go wide on all the platforms and make it permanently free at that point.
Okay. And then, which one is the one you get when you join the mailing list?
That one, you actually get 2 exclusive stories. If you join the mailing list, you get a prequel episode for Vanguard, and you also get a Myth Hunter story as well. And both of those are exclusive to the mailing list. You will be able to get the prequel episode as part of the season compilation when that comes out. But if you just want to get it solo, you can get it that way.
So that's pretty cool. I've been trying to. Right now, if you join the mailing list on my site, you get the second book in my series for free. But I'm not getting a lot of signups, and my read-through rate on Amazon is pretty high. So I've been trying to figure out what I can replace that with to get more people over to my mailing list. And prequel stories were something that I've been thinking about. Is that working well for you?
It's one of those things where it's some things work for people, other things work for others. So it's hard to really say what does work, because I know Nick Stevenson talks about giving the second book free to mailing list signups, and that seems to work really well for him. But for other people, it doesn't. So for other people, maybe it depends on the fan base. Maybe they're like, no, I want to pay for the book. So maybe offering an exclusive thing would be a little bit better then.
And I think it might also have to do with price, because all of my books are like around 35,000 words. So I only charge $2.99, and maybe people just look at it and go, I'd rather pay $2.99.
I think that probably has something to do with it too. I mean, I'm the same way. My books are all like 30,000 words, and my serials are 15,000.
Now, is that like when you're reading for pleasure? Is that your sweet spot that you like to read?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll read longer stuff. Right now I'm reading a book that's like about 380 pages, but I definitely prefer shorter stuff. It's just easier to digest and in a shorter period of time. And I usually read like in short segments when I can find the time. So having something that has short chapters and won't take me, 3 months to read is definitely something I prefer.
And do you read mostly like the supernatural action stuff, or do you branch out all over the genres? What all do you read?
I read a bunch of different stuff. I just finished C.C. Wall's Black Star Canyon, which is a mystery serial, and
it's on my to be read list.
Oh, it's great! You got to read that.
Did you join the alternate reality game on his website?
Oh no, I haven't checked that out yet.
Yeah, he's running a whole, like, because Black Star Canyon's a real place.
Yeah,
so he's running this whole alternate reality game. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll probably have to check that out. But and then I'm reading what's a little bit more of a literary book called I got it as an advanced review copy. And so like I kind of jump all over the place. Right now I'm trying to burn through all the books I've got on my Kindle that I got for free.
That was getting Kindle Unlimited was probably like the biggest boost to the amount of reading I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, I have to read this many books a month in order for it to be worth the $9. So I make sure I do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's because I'm in KDP Select with Vanguard with the individual episodes. But ironically enough, like a lot of people say like, oh, if you've got a serial, you should put it in Select because you'll get a lot more borrows. But I've actually found I'm getting more sales than borrows on it.
See, and I personally, I know a lot of people who are pushed to be in Select.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that borrows can be a good way to go, but I never had any luck with it. People just preferred to buy my stuff, I guess.
I think I was talking about this with some other writers, and since you and I price our stuff around the same, I think maybe that has something to do with it, is that I think there's something psychological that when people, like you were saying, how many books do I have to read a month to get my value's worth? Maybe they see like a 99-cent book or a $2.99 and they think, oh, it's better to read a $5.99 book in Kindle Unlimited because then I'll get my money's worth.
That was right when everybody was talking about the Kindle Unlimited apocalypse. It was my last 3 months in Select. And I thought, I don't mind the borrow rate, $1.50 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'll jump my books up to $4.99 a piece and see if I can get a ton more borrows that way. And it didn't really work out for me. I think it's one of those things where it's either hit or miss. You're either right there in it and it works great for you, or you just need to abandon ship and get out as fast as you can.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it was nice when I got a borrow on the Vanguard stuff because they're 99-cent episodes. So like, I've gotten maybe one borrow for every 10 sales, but that one borrow is worth like 3 sales or something.
Yeah. And that's I actually am like the ideal KU reader because I like to read short stuff from KU so that I can rack up the number of books that I've finished in the year.
Yeah.
I keep track of them on
How come there aren't
Goodreads.
more people like you borrowing my stuff?
I don't know. I don't know why there aren't more people like me who are just like, I just want my number on Goodreads to be huge. So I'm going to count every individual episode of a serial as a book, even if it's like one of those that only has like 5,000 word episodes. Each of those is going up on my Goodreads separately because boom, I just padded in an extra 10 books this week.
I actually did have one of my beta readers do that with some like the first 2 episodes. He was posting like all the books he had read this year, and he posted each of the episodes as if they were each a separate book. And I didn't have the heart to comment and just remind him like, yeah, those are only like 80 pages.
That's what I have people that because they have there's a competition like a Goodreads challenge, and so I have friends who have like 500 books on their challenge, and they'll hit that because they're reading comics, and I'm like 22 pages isn't a book, mostly pictures anyway.
I mean, come on, 500. Especially with comics these days, I mean, 500 comics, you can get through that in like a weekend.
That's what I'm like. And we're not talking graphic novels here. We're talking like individual issues of the comics.
That's like an afternoon.
Yeah. So I like serials for that reason. Although I have gotten to a point now where because Amazon, you can upload your Amazon buys directly into Goodreads, but not your KU borrows.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a feature they need to put in there because I think that will make KU a little more enticing for people.
I didn't even know they did that. I've still just maybe I don't have my accounts linked then because I've still just been doing everything manually.
Yeah, if you go to your My Books page at the very bottom, there's an Add Amazon Purchases link, and it will bring up all of the books you've ever purchased, paperback or digital,
okay.
And you can click on the ones that you want. And you can click not that one for the ones you don't want to admit that you read. I share my Kindle with my mom, so I would have a lot of Amish romances that I haven't actually read show up in my purchased list. Not that there's anything wrong with Amish romances. I'm not.
Does it count like Kindle reads too, or like print books that you order from Amazon, or is it just the Kindle stuff?
Any book you buy from Amazon. So like, one thing that keeps they just gave you the ability to turn it off so it never shows up again. Mm-hmm. And I had bought my mom is a huge Anne of Green Gables fan, and I had bought her the box set in paperback, and it was stuck there because I was like, I can't add these books as the box set because that's just adding a book to my library, and I've read all of them individually. So that's another way you can cheat with serials is to add each individual episode and then go back and add the season.
Yeah. Which is actually something I still got to get around to doing that on Goodreads because I added the first episode and I haven't gotten around to adding the others on there.
How are your like reviews on Goodreads? Do you notice that you get like I actually have more reviews on Goodreads than I do on Amazon.
I get more ratings on Goodreads, but reviews I still get more on Amazon. And the reviews, like some people are nice where they'll cross post their reviews on Amazon and Goodreads, and I love those people. But other times, like I've gotten Goodreads reviewers are a bit more. They're a bit harsher. Amazon readers tend to be little bit more casual. Goodreads readers, they'll tend to write a lot longer reviews. They'll be a little bit harder on the rating system, I found.
See, I haven't really seen that yet. I don't have very many reviews though. I'm not a good sample pool. But my average rating is actually higher on Goodreads than it is on Amazon.
Really? Wow, that's interesting.
But I've less than 15 reviews, so
Yeah, I get a ton of ratings on there. Like if I click through to my books, you'll see like lots of ratings, or lots of people have like added it to their bookshelf but haven't done anything else with it.
And do you do anything to try to promote to get reviews like that? It's something I've been struggling with for a year. So
On Goodreads, it's challenging because, from what I understand, like the thing about Goodreads is if you get involved in like some of the Goodreads book groups they have on there, and if you really participate in, and then like you drop a line every now and then, hey, by the way, I've got a book out. As long as you aren't like spamming the group, then I've heard that will help. But it's also like a huge investment of time to be active in the group to begin with.
that's one of those things I always have. I'm actually a member of a group I really like with urban fantasy readers.
Mhm.
And they have these really interesting in-depth discussions. Like they'll talk about gender identity in urban fantasy, and I'm like, as an author, I want to be part of this discussion, but I can't. At the same time, I can't just say, "Oh, you should read my book," because I have things like that. So I have a really hard time with like getting involved in the conversation and not pushing the fact that I am an author. And that so I just usually will say something like, "This is my opinion as a reader," and then as an author, this is how I fall into that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you like being in those groups and you like participating, then it can be a great way to try and get some more followers. But um, if you're just trying to look for the reviews and you're not really interested in participating in the group, then it won't really do you any good.
Yeah, and I think that's probably true of everything.
Yeah, pretty much, I'd say. And getting reviews is tough though, man. I mean, I've had my Lost Continent came out in 2012, I want to say 2011, 2012, something like that. And even now it's only got 15 reviews on it. And most of those only came like within the past like year or so.
I read somewhere that the first 10 will take as long to get as the like number 11 through number 99.
Probably. It makes sense.
So changing topics entirely now. It's morning where you're at. It's 7 o'clock at 7:15 at night my time, and it's 10:15 in the morning because you are in Japan.
Yep. Out here in southern Kyushu area in Kagoshima City.
So what led to living in Japan? And you teach English, correct?
Right. So what happened was, excuse me, when I was in college, I became really interested in Japanese film and Japanese movies, and I was studying to be a teacher. And while I was there, I heard about this program run by the Japanese government called the JET program, Japan Exchange and Teaching, and they hire college graduates from English-speaking countries, and they bring them over to Japan, and they have them work as assistant language teachers of English in Japanese public schools, so elementary schools, junior highs, high schools. So I applied with that program, and I came over here in summer of 2008 and started working in a very, very small town with a population of about like 18,000 people. Um, uh, and I started working in elementary schools and junior highs, and I did that for 5 years. And on the JET program, the contract is 1 year minimum, 5 year maximum. So after the fifth year was over, by that point, I had already been living here for 5 years. I had a girlfriend that I'd been with for 2 years, so I definitely wanted to stay, and I wanted to stay in the same area. So I found another job working with another company doing the same type of thing. Did that for a little bit, and then last year I found what I'm doing now, which is I teach at it's called a Foreign Language Institute, and basically what they do is they have Japanese students like college age and older, and they come into this school and they study regular subjects in English. So
Yeah. I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and they have a very similar thing. It actually starts with kindergarten, and all of your classes are in a specific language. Like there's a French set and a Spanish set and a German set. So
yeah, there's some kindergartens like that too here in this area. A friend of mine works for one of them. So at this school now, I teach Japanese literature in English.
is that hard?
Um, It's challenging because like the students' level is all over the place. Like some are very, very beginning level English. Some are very advanced. So you have to try and find a balance between the two. Like last year, I taught them all together in one class, which was a little bit challenging. But this year, they split the class, my literature class. So I've got one class with just advanced students and one class with just beginner students.
So I imagine it's hard to study. Like I would not want to study English literature in Japanese.
It's some of the students, because I give them the stories in both English and Japanese, so they get to have both versions. And last year, what surprised me, it's interesting because there's like a 50-50 split. Like half the students prefer the English version, half the students prefer the Japanese version.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So is it classic Japanese literature or more of the modern? What are you teaching?
Right now, I'm doing more classic stuff. So like not like so like one of my classes we're doing stories from Lafcadio Hearn's Kwaidan, and another class we're doing like Japanese folk tales.
Okay. I think there's some really I love folklore in general.
Mm.
I think Japanese folklore has some of the most unique. There's a lot of common themes in most folklore, but Japan is all its own little thing there.
Yeah. We actually just had a discussion about that in one of my literature classes yesterday, actually.
I have no idea. You'd think that other Eastern Asian cultures would have a lot of the same themes, and they're just really not there.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So, let's get back to your books, because you just finished the first season of your superhero serial.
Yeah.
And you are about to release the next novella in your myth series.
Yeah. So Vanguard season 1, episode 5 just came out about like two or 3 weeks ago, and that's on KU right now on Amazon. And come August, I'm going to go wide with the entire series on all the platforms. So all the episodes will be available on all the platforms, and first episode will be perma-free, and the season compilation will be available too. And then the Myth Hunter series, the third novella in that comes out June 22nd, and that's called Curse of the Necronomicon.
Okay. And it was Vanguard was the one I was checking out. And it's superhero stories, right? So kind of a superhero team up kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's a superhero team, and I definitely took the approach of like the Bronze Age comics, where you'd have standalone stories in like each issue, but you'd have like an overarching story arc that would take like a few issues to resolve.
Okay. And the Myth Hunter series, tell us, is that is it a fantasy series or is it more like Indiana Jones?
It's more like Indiana Jones type stuff. The main character is Elisa Hill. And it's very much in that like pulp adventure serial type set. And so she's what's called a myth hunter, which are, there are these people who go around investigating like the different myths and folklores of the world. And she's got a little team that she has with her. She's got her mentor who is named Max Finch, and she's also got a partner who's Asami, and she's a kitsune, which is a Japanese fox changeling. And so she goes around the world and explores different myths and legends. So the first book, we had her investigating the lost continent of Lemuria. And so that took her to India and the Ryukyu Islands of Japan. The second book had her involved with the Dragon Kings of China and Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. So that was like all set in like Hong Kong and mainland China. And now the third book is Curse of the Necronomicon. And it has her hunting down a former partner of hers who was hired to find the Necronomicon, but he went missing during it. And so she's been tasked with finding him and also finding the book.
So is this Necronomicon like Evil Dead or Necronomicon as in Mad Arab?
It's Mad Arab. Yeah, it's the Lovecraftian version.
Cool. I think I'll have to check that one out. I'm a big fan of the like the pulp era Doctor Strange adventures kind of stories.
Yeah, this one's fun because in the book, I addressed the fact that the Necronomicon isn't technically a real book, but while I was doing my research on it, I found that there was a way where I could kind of have both ways, where it could exist but it could not exist too at the same time. And so it was pretty fun to work that into the story.
All right, so we are getting close to running out of time. So why don't you go ahead and make sure everybody knows where they can find you and your books?
Sure thing. You can go to percivalconstantine.com, and that's basically a central hub for everything. I've got links to all my books there and all the buy links for all the stores, whatever store you can want. Articles, book reviews, all sorts of stuff, all linked right from there. And you can also sign up for the list and get the free stories too that way.
And you sell direct.
Yeah, I'm starting to experiment with that a little bit. I think I might just do it for free stuff for now, but because so far I hadn't had any traction with people buying direct on it.
I was actually just emailing back and forth with another writer who is using Gumroad, and I've been using Cells, and I was like, I took all my links down because I never sold a single copy, mm-hmm. and I only chosen Cells because it has Facebook integration.
Oh, okay.
So who are you using as your e-services?
I'm using Gumroad because I've got this this WordPress plugin for my site called My Book Table.
Me too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that plugin. It's so awesome. It lets you have all these links, and it has Gumroad integration too. So that's why I'm supposed to go with Gumroad for that.
I did not know that. I'll have to look into that. I might have to switch.
Yeah, definitely look into it. And Gumroad's great because it lets you put you can put the EPUB file, the Mobi file, and the PDF, and you give it to them as one download, so they get all three files, whichever one they want. You can also do things like coupon codes or lots of stuff like that.
Cells was making us put it in a zip file for a long time. And they recently added the ability to upload multiple files and let the purchaser choose which one they want.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Gumroad delivers the files. If they deliver them all at once or if you choose. Because I know on the buy page it says, when you buy this, you get these files. So I don't know if they let you choose or not. So I'll have to look into that.
I've purchased some stuff through Gumroad, and really it's like a cloud source or cloud service. So when you buy something, you can keep going back and getting it if you need to.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So it works kind of like the Kindle store and like the other ebook services then.
Yeah, just with any digital product. So
right, yeah.
I actually picked up my shock mount and stuff here this week. This is all brand new. And I noticed you also have a pretty nice microphone setup.
Well, kind of. I mean, it's not that great, but take a look.
Yeah. So are you I'm going to audiobooks is where I'm going with this questioning line of questions here.
You know what? I actually bought this for two reasons. One was for doing podcasts. I have a podcast of my own, so that was one reason why I bought a mic like this. Another was because I thought about doing audiobooks and I started to work on it, but I just am not. It's so difficult to narrate your own stuff, and when I listen back and edit it, it's so much work to do, and I feel really bad about charging people for my audiobook readings because I don't think it's professional quality enough. So I'm thinking about maybe doing like the ACX exchange thing, or I thought maybe about doing it as a Podiobook or something, but I haven't really gotten beyond it yet. It's definitely part of that. It's definitely that 80-20 rule thing.
Well, that's what I love audiobooks. I actually don't even really read anymore. I use my Kindle Fire has the voice or text to voice app or
Oh yeah,
on
yeah.
it. So I even listen to print books now. But I love audiobooks, and I was like, I like playing around with my sound stuff. So I was going to give it a go, and I sat down to start formatting my first book into a script to make it a little easier to read. And I had to go, I don't know if I can do this because I will have to rewrite this entire book.
Yeah, it definitely makes you notice a lot of things that you didn't notice before.
Yes. Have you ever gone back and reread your early stuff?
Grudgingly. I mean, well, it was funny when I released Love and Bullets, which was the first Infernum novella. I actually had a release party here at a local bar in Kagoshima City, and a friend of mine offered to do a reading of the first chapter. So I said, okay, yeah, go ahead. And then as she started reading it, I got up and I had to leave because I just everyone else loved it. Like, it led to a lot more sales of the paperback there, but like I just couldn't stand listening to it.
That's kind of the way I am. I'm like, I don't know that I can record an audiobook anymore because I'll just my editor voice kicks in and goes, "You can do so much better than this."
Exactly. Yeah. That's the same problem I have. That's also why I'm kind of giving myself pause with ACX, because I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to listen to it to check the audio anyway, and I don't know if I want to do that.
I honestly, like, I love audiobooks so much that it's like I would rather have my book available as an audiobook than ever see it in hardback. I would just that's
I would love to get it in audiobook because I hear a lot of people do really well with that. But the thing is that, like, I got in too late because ACX changed the whole royalty scheme. So it's a lot harder to do the royalty split unless you've already got a book that sells really well.
That's kind of what I've noticed is like I know people who don't sell particularly like gangbusters who are able to get royalty splits, and I just don't know how they find narrators.
Yeah, it's total hit or miss.
Well, we are at our half-hour mark, so I want to thank you for coming on. PercivalConstantine.com. I will make sure to link that in the show notes and the description for the video on YouTube. Anything else you want to say before we call it a night?
No, just thanks a lot for having me on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for being here. I really enjoy doing interviews. And when you messaged, I actually had gone 6 weeks without recording a podcast. When you sent me the message, and I had just gotten an email from Patrick Stimp that morning asking me when I was going to record another one, and I was like, "Well, this is serendipitous." So
well, I posted that response on that the Sterling and Stone forum, and after I posted the response, I realized that your initial post was like a year ago or something. I'm like, "Oh crap! I wonder if he's even doing the podcast anymore." And then I got the email from you, and I'm like, "Okay, good."
Yeah, I had really almost given up because the entire idea of the podcast was to just talk to other authors. And I realized the reason there aren't a lot of those podcasts that talk to people like on our level, the kind of mid-list indie author level, is because we're kind of a flaky lot.
Yeah. I used to do an author podcast too, and I definitely encountered that.
It's like no wonder Simon doesn't want to interview us. I've rescheduled some interviews 6 or 7 times and still never actually gotten them on air. So anyway, thank you for coming on. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Anytime.
Go to newwriterpodcast.com for show notes or to subscribe to us on iTunes. Like us on YouTube. Leave a comment. We'll get back to you. Contact at newwriterpodcast.com if you'd like to be on the show. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Good night.